Hello and welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast, coming to you today from the Holiday Inn at Tullamarine Airport.
Yep.
We are leaving for America tomorrow for Barkley. And the reason we're here at the Holiday Inn the day before is not because we're so excited about going and we just couldn't wait. It was because we had to come and get our PCR tests done within a 24-hour window before our flight, and there was a very nervous wait. But what was the result, Ron?
The result was a resounding negative.
The one time we want a negative result, and
Yes.
This is it. So we
were trying to think positive but be negative.
Yeah, that's right. And woohoo, negative all the way. We don't have coronavirus yet. No, we won't get it because we are a picture of health.
That's right. Yes, we're highly trained athletes. Picture of health.
That's it. So what we are coming to you into your ears to talk about today, and visually, if you are watching on YouTube, which there is always a YouTube video for all of the Peak Endurance podcast episodes. I just lost my train of thought. I was so busy waffling. We are here to talk about my Barkley prep. A little while ago, I posted on all the usual social media spots that I would like questions for the Barkley prep so I could answer them, and then we can go through them. I kind of haven't done it yet because I didn't want to jinx myself and put this podcast out before I got the PCR test done. And, you know, it's just one of those things. So that's why we're sitting on the bed. You can see the cushions behind us because there's only one chair at the desk to do this podcast now. And if I'm waffling, it's because I'm a little bit excited. And if it's shaking, which it was a little bit there, it's because I'm clearly wriggling with that many too, because we've got the camera on my standard holder, but it's on my suitcase on the bed because the bed's a bit soft to hold the camera. So.
It's perched precariously, so if it falls over mid-interview, we apologise.
Highly professional here, but I hope you bear with us and totally understand and maybe see it as a snapshot into the life of us, as exciting as that life is. All righty. So, Ron, I have given you the sheet with all the questions, yes. And there was a lot. Some of them doubled up. But yeah, if you wanted to start us off.
Even if the questions are doubled up, I'll still mention the names and
yes.
and you know what they asked specifically. So the very first one I'm going to go with is the obvious question from Adrian Bellin, and he asks, "Are you crazy?"
And the answer is
no.
You sure?
Of course you're not.
You know, and it's actually, you know, it's a silly question. He was obviously asking it to be silly, but it is also a fair question because it is a crazy race, and it is a really almost a little bit of a scary race because, you know, nobody wants to get lost out in the bush on their own, especially in the middle of the night. But it's and this is going back to something we were talking about today. I'll sort of mention it briefly about living a life not always being comfortable and living a life well lived. And what I was talking about is you know, we go through life and we like go, God, life went fast, or days went fast, or that year went fast. And that's because we kind of go through life on autopilot and go through everything on autopilot without really paying attention because we're so used to doing everything that we do. And we need these challenges and these scary things that we do in life to slow down life, make us focus on what we're doing, and give excitement to life and interest and something to look back on when we get older and go, wow, how cool that I did that, rather than looking back going, what the heck happened? Where did life go? I don't even remember what I did half the time because all I did was get up, go to work, come home, eat my dinner, go to bed after watching 2 hours of Netflix, you know? So this is something that, yes, it's crazy, but thank God, because otherwise, what else is there to do?
Yeah, that's right.
A little bit of crazy is good.
That's right. And it's good to dedicate yourself to a purpose. You know, this race has been a big deal in yours, and for that reason, my life as well in recent times. We've put a lot of thought, a lot of training, and a lot of effort
and just mental energy.
Yeah, into not only prepping you the best we can, for the race itself, but the energy and mental fortitude that it's taken to actually, travel internationally in these times, the stress and the hoops that you have to jump through, and even right up until an hour ago, we still weren't absolutely sure that we were going to be able to go, because until we get that negative PCR test, we'd be staying at home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it takes a lot of effort, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And that is almost a mentally all-encompassing, mindset to be in.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of determination and dedication.
Yes, and it's interesting with something like this, as in we consider, well, I'm the athlete going to the Barkley marathons and I've got to be dedicated. But as my partner, you've been dedicated to supporting me, and like you do all the driving when we go out to those long trips to go and do the navigation practice, so I can focus just on keeping my energy for that, and and I'll sleep in the car on the way home and all that sort of stuff. So it really is a team effort, even just getting me there.
Yeah, that's right.
Next.
Yeah. So next question, and this is a very similar question from two people. The first from Glenn Venard.
Yep.
What did you learn from your first experience there? And as a result, have you had to adapt anything in preparation this time around? And Jane Louise also asked, what did you do after the first time you did Barkley marathons? Did you make notes about the course and nav? And if so, have you gone back to them?
Jane Louise, I wish you told me that the first time. I should have done that. I was relying on my awesome memory. And I say Jane Louise, just Jane. Sorry. I didn't take notes because I thought I was, and I should have. I was obviously in a mood. I was purposely paying attention so I could. And I did write some notes, but I forgot where I put them, like, seriously. I think I was a little bit, because I know I did write notes now that I think about it. I was quite delirious after that, even a few weeks after. So I have quite a good memory for things, and I was at the time making an effort to remember it, as in putting it in that part of the memory that I can bring back, which I have got. And I have, but even when I finished, I didn't remember everything. I always do this in races. I don't actually remember it all, even though I'm trying hard to remember it. I don't know what it is about racing, but something does that. I think it's how my brain helps me get through the long distances and the long hours, is by just not, once again, going through autopilot so it doesn't seem so overwhelming. What am I going back to Glenn's question and Jane's beginning question, what am I doing differently? Well, more nav practice and not quite so much hills, because quite frankly, I've got hills in my legs. I know that. I've kept up the hill work, but I focus more on fast hiking because those hills, nobody's running up them. At least no one I know. So I know I'm going to be fast hiking them. So that's what I'm training, rather than, I did still do running hill repeats and that sort of stuff, but I also did a lot of focus on fast hill hiking. So yes, so basically lots more nav work and lots more hill hiking, but then also the rest of the time running more on the flat. The last time I just did all my runs in the hills, which doesn't keep your leg speed as well. So even though I'm training for a maintenance race, there was still a lot of flat running for that reason.
And also, did you change your, this is from Kushla Nickel.
Yep.
I'm hoping I said that correctly.
Yep.
And they're asking if you changed your training from the first attempt.
Well, in that regard, that's what I did differently. I've done more flat running, or kept more flat running in, because just doing hills just leads to you being slower. So, and obviously I'm not, I've done, a fast marathon, sub 3 hour marathon. I'm not talking that kind of fast, because you can't train for that sort of fast whilst training to run a long distance. So there's you just can't. So although I'm running more flats, but more specific hills, being more specific and judicious with my use of hills, not just hills and that's it. So, yeah.
And how do you feel that how do you feel navigation wise? What's changed from the first attempt to how you're feeling about
just
this
more
attempt?
Repeated efforts at it, not so sporadic, just going out there. We were going out every weekend somewhere, and just that continuous and focusing, like when we would do it together, because towards the end I was doing it on my own, talking about the lay of the land, looking at the map, trying to relate it to what we're seeing in front of us, and that sort of stuff. Whereas before I just do the compass and follow the arrow and not even think about, well, what does that tell me? Like, are we in the gully? Are we on a ridge line? Just following the compass blindly, which, that you need to be able to do that too, to a certain extent, but you need to be able to combine them together and go, okay, this is my bearing, but the map also says I'm going to go through 3 gullies before I get to the final gully kind of thing, and count the gullies and do that sort of stuff.
And you're going to pass to the left of a hill peak or something like that.
A knoll will be on the left or a waterway or whatever it is, and doing that sort of stuff. And also recognizing that as careful as you are with creating your bearings, it is very easy to be a little bit off. And that tiny bit off, the further you've got to go, becomes further off. And so still keeping your eyes open when you're getting close to where you think you should be, knowing that you're not going to just necessarily hit it bang on. Sometimes you do, but it's not always.
Yeah, so you're not going to trip over the point. You actually have to look sideways a little bit.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Larry Kelly and Nikki Wind have asked, how are you preparing? This is a big deal. How are you preparing for winter conditions? Because considering it's summer here and we've actually been training in 30+ degree temperatures.
And it's been horrible. I would rather be training in the cold. How? By treating the heat training as training to suffer. And I can suffer in heat, so I can suffer in cold. At the end of the day, training in heat, it's not the same as cold. It's just not. It's better than going from training in the cold to racing in the heat, though, because that's a horrible change to make. But training in the heat and then going to the cold, that's a lot easier. And I personally prefer the cold. I'm used to, after having lived in Canada, although that was a while ago now, I know what it feels like to run in the cold. I'm experienced at that, and I have the gear for it now after having been in Canada. So I'm really not so concerned about it. Yes, it might be a little bit harder, but you know what? Racing is hard.
That's right.
And I've got lots and lots of layers, lots of puffies for running in, lots of waterproof jackets. I've spent a fortune on those sorts of things, so, and at the end of the day, just once it's like with any race, just got to do what you can do.
That's right. I mean, the good thing, if you're training in the summer, there's only so much you can take off to cool down. At least in the winter, like in cooler conditions, you can actually layer up and keep warm.
Although in saying that, like and Nikki is one of the people who asked this question, when Nikki was doing Coast to Cozzy and her clothes got all wet and we ran out of layers to give her that were dry and she could not get warm, so she had to pull out of the race due to cold. So that is a thing. But Nikki's the kind of person who likes hot races and hot weather, so she doesn't like the cold, whereas I prefer the cold. So it is possible to get to the point, but I think I've got enough clothes. And the beauty of the Barkley is people are happy to share stuff. And if it got to that point, I'm sure someone would lend me something. But yes, at least that way you can put on more clothes, and movement creates heat. So as long as you keep moving, hopefully you are warm enough. So, and once again, at the end of the day, if I become so cold that I can't continue on, then that's what happens. I mean, doing the best you can. That's all that matters.
Okay, next question. Andrew Lorenzo and Little Runner Vista. Are they two separate people?
Yep.
Yeah. They have asked, what does your nutrition look like? Do you have any idea of calories between laps, or will you try and go by feel? What's your favorite food you are bringing? How, it says, I know that's like 3 questions, but I figured, how can I enter is off the table. I was
Andrew, hey, Andrew wanted to, hey to enter is definitely off the table. So yes,
so that won't be one of the questions I'm asking, I'm afraid.
Yes, that's right, or that I'll be answering. Nutrition is a really tricky one for me because I've had nutrition issues all my life, even before I was a runner, and we were discussing that today when I ordered an almond milk chai because I can't have dairy. I have a sugar intolerance. So that makes a lot of foods difficult because a lot of foods have sugar in them naturally. So I just I do the best I can, and I do my nutrition by feel. I will have food with me because I have to take food out long enough for a decent amount of time. But it needs to be lightweight. Spring energy gels, which they do have fructose in them and other sugars, but they're more natural. I find the less processed something is, the better it is for me. I can eat a certain amount of sugars, and sometimes I can eat heaps and I'm fine. Other times I can't. But it's just the most portable food. I can't be taking a whole picnic table with me, So, but I'll be taking real foods, and then we will have real food at the campsite for when I hopefully come in between laps.
Yeah. What some people don't realise is that as with Barkley, there's no aid stations or no aid of any kind mid-lap. So basically you have to take out enough food for the 20 plus, however many miles it turns out to be each lap. You need to take out enough nutrition for that entire lap. And
water. I mean, there is a couple of water spots, but, that's all there is just some water, some jugs, plastic jugs with water.
So there can be up to, literally up to 12 hours of activity without that you have to support
myself
in one bag.
So it needs to be calorie dense and easy to carry and not creating too much rubbish and all that sort of stuff. So the spring energy gels are great. Then I'm also guessing we'll buy some bars and stuff over there, and we'll make sandwiches, peanut butter and jam sandwiches. We've got our Vegemite, very important. Yeah,
and basically when she comes back into the start-finish area, I will literally just have to give her options because once again, there'll be no communication.
No, I won't be able to message him going, I'm feeling like this.
So
there's no phones allowed.
So I'll just have to prepare some options and
not get offended when I don't want
when she has one mouthful and says, no, I don't want that any more of that, I just have to put that to the side and go for the next one. So, it's all about options and being flexible. Yeah,
and definitely being flexible for both of us. And maybe I'll just have to suck it up and eat whatever.
Okay, the next one is there it is. How are you preparing your crew?
This is from Meg's Ha.
This is from Meg's Ha, and also partly from Mark Grimer as well. Grimmer, sorry. How are you preparing your crew, and what preparations are they doing to keep you going? And the second question from Mark Grimmer is, do you need more crew?
And lots of people did ask that, obviously as a joke.
Yes.
I'm only allowed one crew member. Okay.
That's me.
Yes, that's you.
That's me.
And so that's Ron's job. So one crew. So how am I preparing you? Well, how I've prepared Ron is got him to crew for me for the 291 Seven Peaks run and the 250-kilometer run into the city. And I think you've learnt a lot from those, don't you think, to help?
We absolutely learned some very valuable lessons on those. And luckily, because we were on the move and we had a car with us, we were always able to be flexible in,
But what are you going to do at the campground? Well, I mean, once I head off, you've got hours. You could go and grab whatever from the shop. but Wartburg is not exactly the
It's not Chadstone.
No, no, it's not Chadstone.
Yeah.
Thank God. So, what are you going to do if everything, like, if I'm like, oh, I don't want that, like, what are you going to do?
Well, obviously, it gets to a point. It's not a cafe, so when I say there'll be options and there'll be prepared options, there comes a point where you're just going to have to suck it up and have one of them.
Yeah, that's right, and that's right, and that's it. And I mean, what are you going to do? Or what have you, like, because you've experienced this as well, when I'm going, I'm feeling horrible.
Yeah.
So
and it's all about giving a positive vibe.
Yeah.
And
I find you have a very calming effect. Like, you are very calm about everything, and that absorbs into me.
Yeah. I mean, the last person, a runner who is in the hurt locker and is, losing faith in themselves and is full of doubts, the last thing they need to hear is, yeah, you're right.
So maybe you should give up.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of, positive talk and telling someone who looks like rubbish that they look great and they're doing well.
Yeah.
And, just hiding all the mirrors, basically.
Yeah.
And that's actually metaphorically and, physically hiding the mirrors, trying to not let, if they're feeling terrible, not letting them experience that terribleness within themselves, through you.
Yeah.
All they need to experience through you is positivity and encouragement. And that, I think, is the most important thing, apart from the feeding and watering and that stuff. The most important thing that you can give a runner is positive vibes.
And I don't know, I just always find that I would look forward to seeing you, because it wasn't just the positive, but like I said, the calming, and because I start to sometimes get a little bit overwrought with thinking about things, and you would just calm me down and going, no, it's okay, and make me focus on the important things through calming down, as opposed to getting scatterbrained from overthinking. So,
and the other thing is also that I'll be trying to do is just have everything laid out and ready, so that so that I don't feel panicked when Isobel is in front of me. Once again, like she just said, if I give off a vibe of frazzlement and, oh my God, then that, is automatically reassuring Isobel that things are out of control.
Yeah.
So the most important thing for me is to look like I'm in control, look like nothing that she throws at me is unexpected.
Not physically throwing.
No. And just,
I don't want that.
Yeah, that's all right. And just, being in control, or at least giving the vibe that everything is under control.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Greg Brown has asked, has said, sleep deprivation is my main setback in long races. How are you preparing for a potential 60-hour race?
Well, looking back and saying, I've done, like the 7 Peaks was 67 hours. I've done this before. The other one was like 52 hours or whatever, and that was no sleep. So I've done this before. I know my body I know I can do it. I know that's the only thing. I don't like it. It's not, to be honest, I don't like sleep deprivation. It's definitely not one of my favorite things. It's one of my least favorite things about these sorts of things. But just knowing it's not forever. It's only for a couple of days. If, God willing, it's not forever. And then I will get to sleep, and, I will eventually get to have a sleep, and it will eventually end. And that's, but even that, maybe I might have to put my head down for a 5-minute dirt nap if it gets too out of control, because like I was saying on that Mind Focused Runners YouTube interview, sometimes what it is it's overstimulation into your brain, and you just need to close your eyes. It's not so much that you're tired, it's that your brain's like, I need to stop all this information coming in so I can reboot, and just lying down, even if I don't sleep, just for 5 minutes, just shut the eyes. And can honestly be enough.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried shutting my eyes while I'm running, but that generally doesn't work too well.
Yeah. Okay. Judy Sen has asked, is it true that he, meaning Laz, changes the course every year so that you don't know exactly what or where you're going until you line up at the start line? I also heard you don't know what time you're starting until he sounds the horn. Is that true?
Yes. So first of all, it's like he sounds the conch, and then you have 1 hour from that time. This is one of the elements that I do find particularly difficult. I like to know the start time so I can be organized within my head, but that's part of it. Every aspect of Barkley is designed to make things uncomfortable and challenging for the runner. And that's definitely a challenge. Yes, he changes the course every year. There are elements that are kept the same, some elements. That's why the virgins want to latch on to a veteran, but it's not the same course every year. He makes it, he changes it, makes it more difficult if someone's finished it, but just generally changes it year to year, small tweaks, small changes, just so nobody can 100% know where to go.
Right, and just to double back on the how do you know exactly where to go? If he changes it, then how obviously he doesn't publish a map online. How do you know where you
download and put on a Venza Maps?
Yeah, that's it.
I wish. He has a master map that we copy from. So the master map goes up on a main table, and you're not allowed to take photos of it, obviously, because that so easily get put on social media, I guess. Yeah. You have to copy from his map onto your own map, which is, in risky in it of itself, because it depends on your copying skills and whatever. So copying the map, and then you have a map. And of course, there are no course markings. There's sometimes no trails. So the course that is shown, you have to figure it out from map and compass as well. Some of it is on trails, of course, but not all of it.
Okay. And in that respect, Matthew Coghlan has asked, have you or will you contact a veteran to try and organise doing the first loop with them to assuage any nervousness about navigation?
I would love to latch onto a veteran who knows more of the course than me. I did that last time, but he was more at a walking pace kind of person. So by the time I met up with them, because I'd gotten lost so many times, but that was when my nav wasn't as good. So I'm hoping to be a bit quicker now. And yes, I want to, but I haven't contacted anyone, because it's all the international runners that are the rollovers from COVID. So I don't necessarily know any of them.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And so really what the question should be is, has anyone contacted you to see if they can latch onto you?
Yeah, but I'm not really a veteran. Doing it once. No, nobody's contacted me. Clearly no one is that confident in my abilities, including me.
Laney runs.
Yeah, so just Laney.
Laney, has asked, in the current GPS reliance world we live in, how have you coped with and adapted your training to your navigation without watch, phone?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, because yes, I've had to just use the map and compass, and it's kind of good to know that I can, like I used to have to, for many of the Australian races, part of mandatory kit was having a map and compass. And I used to put it in my mandatory kit and show, yep, got my map and compass. And then it's wasted weight in my pack, because God knows I don't know how to use it. If I got lost, fat lot of use it was. Yeah. But now I know that I can use a map and compass. And it's just good to know that I can. Yeah. And yes, it's not that hard to give up the GPS for that sort of thing at the end of the day. Really, it's not. Did you find it like?
Yeah.
Sometimes it was hard when we'd get a little bit lost. You just wanted to look on your phone and the maps.
But we were pretty good in training in not doing that, in actually just sticking to the map and compass and not resorting to GPS. Yeah. Because I wasn't actually training for Barkley myself, I would sneak a peek at my watch, like for
distances,
for distance wise. because, as Isobel knows, I am hopeless at judging distance.
Oh my God.
I'll always.
There's something I call Ron miles, which are completely different to standard
Yeah.
miles.
Because everything is just, a couple of kilometres up there, which turn out to be
Like
10
20?
kilometres. So, I'm hopeless at that. So I would generally sneak a peek at my watch. But particularly late in Isobel's training, she's been not using that. She's been using steps and record, like a recorder that she attaches to her pack.
Yeah, Bill Flower got me onto that. It's like a little little bead thing, and they glow in the dark, so it'll be good for night. And every 100 steps, or 100, meters, which is probably more than 100 steps. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it. It's more than 100 steps, but it depends, whether I'm running or walking. Mm-hmm. And then I'll click that over, and then 10 of those, it's 1 kilometer. And geez, that makes it so much easier, because when you're tired, you forget what you're counting up to. Was that 300? Was that 500? I wouldn't have a clue. Yeah. So that's helped heaps. Yeah. And so I mean, it is hard sometimes when you feel that urge. I just want to check. Mm-hmm. But then to just trust yourself, and not, more often than not, just trusting myself is good enough. Yeah.
Cuffy has asked, how do you go about the mental side, knowing that it's pretty impossible to finish? Do you focus on that, or will you on that you will be the 16th finisher, or that you're just there to experience it?
Yeah. No woman's ever finished it or really come close. So statistically, if you look at it that way, the chances of me finishing are pretty remote. Mm-hmm. And I'm not being negative here. I'm being factual and realistic. In saying that, there's no point going to Barkley going, oh, well, I'm just going to go and do one lap. I'm going there because I want to do really well, and I want to do more than one loop. I'd love to do 3 loops. I'd love to finish. But mentally, I have to prepare myself for the fact that chances are I won't. And you know what? It's actually almost a little bit freeing, because it's like, well, it's freeing knowing that other people haven't. If everyone else could finish it, it'd be kind of a bit, oh, I hope I can. But knowing that it's so hard for everybody, it makes it, well, that's just the way it is. Yeah, it takes the pressure off, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. And finally, Jason Wynn had, in that same vein, how do you feel about being the first woman to finish Barkley?
Well, like I said, statistically, the chances of me being, but someone has to be at some point. Maybe, especially because Laz does make it harder every year whenever a man does finish. That makes it, once again, statistically harder for a woman to finish it. Mm-hmm. And it's not being sexist, it's being realistic.
Well, obviously, no woman has ever finished it.
So you can't.
So the proof is in the pudding.
That's right. So, and it's not because women are, Laz is trying to prove that women are weaker or whatever. It's not got nothing to do with that. He's not. Laz wants a woman to finish it.
That's right. He's on record as saying that he would love for a woman to finish it.
But I think I forgot her name, Jasmine something. She's going to be there this year, and she finished the spine. I think it was a spine. She beat all the men, and that's navigation and everything. So she may be the first woman finisher. If anyone, I think she is the most likely to be the first woman finisher. But once again, things happen out there, and who knows? And
that's that I find, having, because we've watched a fair bit about Barkley in recent times, trying to get into the right mindset and whatnot, and it's essentially, it's two very different races. You see people who are expert navigationalists, and they don't quite, they get 3 laps in and they're physically spent. And you get people who are superb mountain runners and, seemingly can run for days and days and days, and they get lost on the first lap and can't finish the first lap. Yeah. So it's two vastly different skills that you need to bring together to complete this race.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the training for this is so all encompassing, and it's just, it's exhausting. And to be honest, I'll be glad to have a little break and just focus on just training to run a race, because it is mentally exhausting as well as physically exhausting, as all training should be. Like, you have to recognize that training for a hard race is physically tiring and physically exhausting, and you're always going to be a little bit tired. Well, this is also mentally draining, so it's always a little bit mentally tiring too.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I would not have missed this opportunity for the world, and I recognize it as a fantastic opportunity, and I'm extraordinarily lucky to be one of the people that has been allowed to enter, and I'll be forever grateful that I have gone to now 2 Barkley marathons, and when in my wildest dreams, I never would have even thought I'd go to one. So, you know, and once again, it's not just luck. I've worked bloody hard to get into this position. You know, it's not, I didn't just luck into it. I've worked bloody hard, and that's, you know, and I'm, for many years, and I'm proud of myself for that. I am a hard worker. So, you know, but I am, grateful to be in this position, and, you know, but that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to be the best at it, or finish it, or be the worst at it. I don't know. I'm just going to do the best I can, and see it as a challenge, and just an amazing event, and how fortunate I am to be involved in it, and just hope for the best, and do my absolute best, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what we've spoken about, you know, in recent times, about expectations and how we're going to go.
Yeah.
You know, I've said that I know that you're an extremely strong and determined person and runner, and I know that whatever happens out there, you'll have given it your best go.
Yeah.
Regardless of the outcome. That there's no question in my mind that whatever happens out there, you'll have given it your absolute best.
Yeah. And, you know, and if I don't go well, it'll be a bit disappointing, but if that's my best on the day, then that's my best on the day. And, you know, who knows what the Barkley Marathon gods will throw at us that day, you know, and like is quite obvious. Some years nobody finishes. So, you know, I just think I've got to remain positive about it, because last time I did get a little bit overwhelmed with it all. And this time I want to just see it as an awesome challenge that I can just do my best at the end of the day, you know.
Excellent. And to finish up, just what would you like to say to all those people who have wished you well, and you know,
and just thank you to everyone for all your well wishes, and I really appreciate it, and I'm going to do my absolute best, you know, but who knows, but thank you all, and for everyone's support and being so kind, and I really appreciate it. And you're going to be posting as much as humanly possible on Facebook. So if you haven't friended Ron yet,
friend me. I will be obviously tagging Isobel into
he'll
all
be
the
tagging
posts.
me. So if you're friends with me on Facebook, you will you'll see those tagged posts. And you know, and I'm sure, but obviously, you know, there's no mobile reception at the park itself, or at the campground. So Ron's got to go down to the visitor centre, and you know, that may not be possible that often, and really he's not going to get updates that often himself.
No, that's right. For most of the time, I won't know anything or know much more than,
I mean, you'll basically, after I start, you'll probably go down and post that I've started, and you know, you'll maybe take a photo and put that up and that sort of stuff, and then it'll be radio silence for a while.
That's right. Well, I'll be either sleeping in the van or drinking beers at the campfire with all my new friends.
That's right. And throwing me a beer when I come through.
Yeah, that's right.
There's your nutrition.
And then traveling back to Australia by myself.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Thanks to everyone, and I hope I do well. But you know, who knows? We'll have to see. Whatever. I'm just wrapped that especially with the negative PCR test, I'm just excited that we're actually going to get to the start line. First hurdle crossed.
There was actually a squeal of delight when we got the message.
Oh my gosh, I was so scared. You know, like, honestly, God, it's been stressful. It's been unbelievably stressful. You know, to pack and do everything and know that after all this training and everything, and that it could just go, nope, you can't go.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, thank you for the questions. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you find the podcast interesting. I will be putting out more podcasts probably upon my return. I'm going to be having a bit of a break. It's hard work putting out this podcast week after week. It's lots of work. It may only be 45 minutes to you. It's hours of work for me. So a little bit of a break while we have a bit of a holiday, because we'll be going to Canada afterwards and visiting all my old stomping grounds there. And a bit of a break, and there'll be a catch up afterwards. I mean, I don't know, maybe I will put something out, who knows, but I doubt it. So enjoy this, and please, I would love it if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It really does make my day, and it extends the reach of the podcast so more people can, see it, hear it, whatever it is. So thank you, Ron, for joining me, and
thank you for having me.
More podcasts in the future will be more training discussion, and Ron will be coming on more because it helps to have someone to bounce ideas off. So enjoy your running, everybody, and send me positive vibes, and hopefully we will have a good result to share with you at the end.
Hopefully, yes, fingers crossed.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And I will stop